Kids on Fire is Overland's strategy to make the King and his kingdom known to the young generation in the nations. Our sector missionaries are actively discipling almost 12,000 people in 12 countries. 65% of those people, that's nearly 8,000 of our disciples, are children. A move of God is happening amongst the children in the nations, and we are privileged to be a part of it. Here are some of our highlights of 2024. In March, we hosted a countrywide conference for our local Kids on Fire teachers. More than 50 leaders from all over Zambia and DR Congo camped out at our house. Most traveled 3 to 5 days to join us in Livingstone. These teachers are the real heroes. Collectively, they disciple over 5,000 children on a weekly basis. In April, we took 29 of our Kids on Fire on an overland expedition to the shores of Lake Kariba. We transported them in an overland truck and set them up in tents for the week. Every morning, the kids walked from house to house, sharing the gospel message with adults, praying for the sick and oppressed, and sharing the testimony with the team afterwards. Every afternoon, they ministered to the children on the shores of Lake Kariba. Every evening, the villagers gathered around a big bonfire, listening to the children preach and share their testimonies. We saw deaf ears open, the lame walk, and many grown-ups impacted by the simple testimonies of children giving their lives to Jesus. Here's one specific testimony of our time out on expedition.
So, when Uncle Carson was translating to him, one of the women said, "Go sit near him because he won't get anything you're saying." So he went and sat near him. Then after some time we preached to them. Then when the time for praying came, me and Uncle Carson laid our hands on him and prayed for him. Then what happened afterwards is, before Uncle Carson could even ask how he was feeling, he stood up. Uncle Carson was standing like this and the man was seated like this low. Then he was speaking. Then I was like, "Uncle Carson, look what's happening. He can hear what you're saying from this distance." Then Uncle Carson was like, "Oh yeah, he can." Then he asked him how he feels. Then he said he feels better.
In July, Arthur and I got to travel to Brazil to help train our team on the ground for children's ministry. At the end of the training, we traveled to one of the small communities that dot the edges of the river to put to practice what we learned. We had no idea what the Lord had prepared for us. In one of the most powerful meetings I've ever had the privilege to attend, God's presence overwhelmed the children in such a tangible way that there was not a dry eye left in the room. Children stood worshiping God as tears rolled down their faces, or fell on their knees as the power of God touched their lives. It was so impactful for me to experience, whether in the middle of the bush in Africa or the middle of the Amazon jungle in Brazil, children are hungry for Jesus, and He is eager to touch their lives in ways that change them forever. In August, our local Kids on Fire kids and teenagers spent 2 days in a nearby village to do an outreach to children there. Our kids shared the gospel and testimonies from their lives with over 450 children. Kids ministered powerfully to kids. This is what equipping the little saints look like. Throughout the year, our local team leads had the chance to travel and train over 50 Kids on Fire teachers from across Zambia. Everywhere we go, we see that kids ministry is mostly limited to singing songs, playing games, and telling Bible stories. So these trainings are always powerful times of shifting paradigms and breaking down poor perception of children's ministry. The result is always emergent leaders who are passionate to shake their nation. In December, we hosted our annual Kids on Fire camp. This year, the theme was 100% Jesus. We talked plainly about the cost of following Jesus, about denying oneself, and about being willing to give our entire lives to Jesus. Children praised hard, played hard, but also learned how to spend time in His presence. Weaved around all of these highlights were our weekly Kids on Fire meetings, with around 200 children attending. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these, and our team faithfully declared week after week all that this kingdom entails. Children were touched powerfully by His presence. Little saints were equipped for real ministry. These are not the church of tomorrow. They're part of the church of today, and what powerful members of the body of Christ they are. We thank everyone who plays a part in making this ministry possible. The harvest is ripe, and you make it possible for the laborers to continue their work in the field. In the words of the early Moravian missionaries, "May the Lamb that was slain receive the reward of His suffering. He is worthy."